This is not the instrumental I was looking for.
This is great, David.
What's up, everybody? It's the Daily Fantasy Show. On Monday, we have with us Davis Maddock, Derek Carty, and the person that you might know as the Dr. Renee Miller. That's like, she's everywhere. Like, is there a podcast or site that you don't write or like participate in? Like, this is your season.
It's been a busy week.
Yeah, for sure. So you are going to be hosting the show today. Do you feel like every this kind of completes your resume?
This is like the pinnacle of what I have hoped to achieve.
Okay, good.
And I only found out like an hour ago that I was going to be hosting.
Okay. In the email.
Wait, hold on. You're saying David Kitchen postponed something until after
No.
a reasonable time?
No.
Failed to communicate. Just as shocking.
Yes. I think my communication issues are well documented. It's like, it's like Cardi's computer issues or Davis's absolute hot takes on Demaryius Thomas. So, but
Ben had the hottest take on Demaryius Thomas.
Well, his hot take was probably true. Anyways, like we talked about the show, but I didn't know that you didn't know that you were hosting. So, like when I emailed you, like what was going
I knew I was coming
on the show, right? I mean, you didn't think I was going to let Davis host this, did you?
Well, yeah, kind of.
When you were going to be on.
But I'm ready. I'm up for it.
Okay, well let's get to it.
Great. I do have one comment though. I thought, it's been a long time that I've watched the show, and I always thought, I wonder if when I come on the show for the first time, if David Kitchen will have the right music. And you failed on that.
What was the right music?
I'm not going to tell.
Okay.
I'm not going to tell. We'll see. We'll see what happens next week.
If I don't know the right music now, I don't know how I'm going to use it, how I'm going to know, later.
Okay, maybe I'll give you a hint.
Oh, yeah, please do. Okay, can we start the show now?
Okay, let's start the show. All right, this is going to be a mixed football and baseball show today. We're going to recap the weekend's action and look ahead to those of us playing the Monday night slate tonight, and then talk about some MLB plays for tonight's baseball games. So first I want to just get your guys' takeaways, or at least Davis's takeaways from the weekend, focusing on some good stuff that you saw and some underperformances or some bad stuff that you saw.
Demaryius Thomas.
Okay, good stuff that I saw. Running back was frustrating for the most part, but it looks like there are going to be a couple guys who are going to be exploitable in terms of price all year. Monty Ball won't ever post huge stat lines because he's not very good. Like, he's a worse player than Noshawn Moreno, but they're going to give him all the work at the goal line. He'll be an option week in, week out. And I think we got some clarity really early on running backs we're not going to use all year. We're not going to use any Buffalo running backs. Now with Ben Tate injured, we're probably not going to use any Cleveland running backs because they're going to use a committee there. We know that Mark Ingram in games where the Saints are favored is actually probably going to be an option because he got a lot of the goal line work. And unfortunately, on the bad side, I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be so terrible that Jamal Charles is sort of just a tournament option. As long as him and McCoy and Forte are priced the same, you have to err on him being, your third choice for cash games after those two, because the other two catch passes and play for good teams. Whereas, Alex Smith has regressed in a significant way, and I think we even saw that a little bit in the playoffs last year and when Kansas City's schedule got a little tougher. I normally don't try.
The defense kind of went down the tubes the second half of the season, really exposed the offense a lot, and I think with these new injuries, that's going to be a concern too for Charles.
Yeah, Smith definitely plays better when he has the lead. He plays within himself. He doesn't try and force the issue. And I'm not a scout. I don't want anyone to think that I am not gonna talk about.
No, I don't think anybody is
manipulating the defenders with his eyes or anything. But I think it's pretty clear when he gets down by more than 7 points, when he and Andy Reid have it in their heads that they have to score right away or they're gonna lose the game. He tries to force the issue. He was targeting Donnie Avery farther down the field than he ever targeted Dwayne Bowe last year. Donnie Avery is a sub-replacement level player. He is very bad at football. And everyone knows this except for Alex Smith. And I think something that frustrated me personally a lot was that Travis Kelce is their best pass catcher, and he only played 20 snaps. Something that was encouraging was that he was able to score 8 fantasy points while only being on the field about half the time. And he actually did get an end zone target, but just wasn't able to convert it. And then on the next play, Anthony Fasano scored. But I actually do think that if we see some stuff out of Chief camps indicating that they're happy where Kelce is coming along in his development, I think that there will be an edge in using him in cash games sort of before people realize how good he is. Because you have to remember, he's basically a rookie. Like, it's his second year, but he didn't play in any games last year due to the microfracture surgery. So I'm not as worried about Travis Kelce or as bummed out on the performance yesterday as everyone else is.
But you kind of knew that was like going to be a thing, though, Davis. Like, that was going to be a risk.
Right, and no one would be tilted if he would have caught his end zone target. Like, no one would be, like, everyone would be talking about how brilliant of a play it was to take him if he would. And going back to his college career, you have to expect him to convert red zone rates greater than 40% of the time, given how he profiles and his success there previously. So it changes from, oh man, I'm such a donkey, I can't believe I used him instead of Julius Thomas, to having a min-price tight end who scored 14 fantasy points on DraftKings, swung all of your cash games.
Tell me about another rookie tight end, Zach Ertz, and what you think of Philadelphia as a whole. So they had a really slow start on Sunday, but Ertz, Macklin, pretty much everyone but McCoy exceeded expectations, I think.
Ertz, I mean, like, I think it would be very easy to look at this and say, okay, well, everyone who played Ertz was right, and everyone who played Kelce was wrong. But I don't like to view things in those black and white terms with football, because there's a lot of gray area in terms of, oh, well, this guy came down with this target, and this guy didn't. I'm gonna go pull up the Eagles game log from yesterday, but essentially, I feel like Ertz is sort of a replacement level daily fantasy player because he's not as talented as Tyler Eifert, as Travis Kelce. Like, if you go back and look at his pedigree, he's not really one of those guys. And he only ran 34 pass routes yesterday. I know everyone wants to talk about how Travis Kelce didn't play very much. Well, neither did Ertz. Travis Kelce ran, I think when he was on the field, he ran 14 pass routes. So Ertz had 20 more. Sounds like a lot, except in the context of their offense and in the way in which those games worked, I don't think it was. I mean, you're not going to expect Alex Smith to play that poorly every single week. I know everyone wants to talk about how terrible he is. So all that it would have taken for Kelce to have a slightly better day or to run as many pass routes as Ertz did was for 2 third down incompletions to turn into conversions, and then all of a sudden Kelce is on a field for 2 whole extra drives. And we're talking about a lot of ifs and buts, but that's what football is.
Absolutely. Another player that kind of came out of nowhere in my mind was Alan Hearns. I know it was mentioned that he would be getting the start for Shorts this week, but no one expected that. I think I even saw something that said he's the only rookie ever to catch 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. Do you think that's sustainable as long as Shorts is out?
Yeah, Davis was on record yesterday in the pregame show with doing the nah wave to Hearns, and then,
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, no.
Oh, that's fine. If people want to consistently wager on a player who didn't even really dominate in college, like if I'm just looking at here, he only had like 23% of his team's passing touchdowns in his senior year of college. For those unfamiliar with the concept of market share, you would sort of expect him, based on that rating, to be a player like Jeremy Macklin, maybe. Like, that would be his ceiling, except when you weight draft position into any sort of future production model, he becomes a significantly less attractive player. And he is big, he's 6'3", 195, except going forward, I mean, when you plug weight into any sort of prediction model for pass catchers, weight ends up being a more significant variable than height. I can't understand how anyone was saying that they had an idea as to how Hearns was going to be a better play than Lee. I mean, if you have some sort of foresight, maybe you saw something on tape, but I can't. Yeah, and see, like the concept of someone looking amazing in preseason, that doesn't mean anything to me. Because your eyes trick you. They do it on purpose. That's why people think Andrew Luck is an elite quarterback, even though he's been Ryan Tannehill on a per dropback ratio.
Oh, man. Davis Maddock, everybody. Oh, already getting to the Andrew Luck stuff.
That's not a hot take. That's true.
No, I didn't say it was a hot take.
If Tony Romo had thrown that fourth quarter interception yesterday, Twitter would still be talking about it. Andrew Luck throws a fourth quarter interception and doesn't convert on a fourth down, like when his team can win a game, and everyone just wants to talk about how much heart he showed and like how gritty he is.
Yeah, did you see his dive for the end zone?
No, I generally think it's a really bad idea if you play daily fantasy to win money to watch games with
false.
that in mind.
That's false. It's a false statement, Davis. Because you don't know, you cannot get the grasp of what happens in a game. Like you just said, like it's a game of near misses. Well, how do you know those near misses if you don't watch the game? That's just my take. I want to get the doctor's take on this, though.
I'm not going to argue with Davis about Andrew Luck. I do think that there's some irrational love for the man. He's never high on my list or my rankings as high as he is on other people's.
We're talking about watching tape. Do you think, like Davis just said, it's a bad idea? He didn't say like it doesn't benefit. He said it's a bad idea.
Okay. This I do have an opinion on. I think watching tape is fine for people that really want to dedicate themselves to doing it in a careful and unbiased way. I think that everyone, regardless of their background, should start with some statistical knowledge of what they're looking at before they watch film, because our eyes can trick us. Our eyes can trick us into believing the first thing that we see. So if the first thing we see is an amazing play, we just benchmark that as who that player is. And you're a little less susceptible to that if you go into it with like a fair and balanced statistical analysis of an entire career. Those one play wonders cannot sway your opinion quite so much. But I watch football because it's fun. I don't claim to learn everything there is to learn about a player from watching games on Sunday. I just like doing it.
Right. Well, I mean, it's like Davis was talking about Kelsey's near miss in the end zone. Like, Davis, how did you know that there was a near miss in the end zone?
Because I saw that Kelsey almost missed it in the end zone on the play-by-play. I saw Travis Kelsey targeted in the end zone, like passing complete.
So do you do that for every game then?
It depends. Like I was busy then. I was working on some other stuff, so I wasn't watching. Like I don't want people to think that I like hate watching football. Here's the best example.
No, but I'm just saying. Okay, go ahead. I'll let you make your point.
So Billy Bean, I was listening to a podcast with Billy Bean, the general manager of the Oakland Athletics yesterday, and he was talking about why he doesn't watch the Oakland A's play baseball. Like that sounds crazy, right? Like this is your team. You need to be in tune with the players. You need to understand. No, that's a terrible idea, because if you watch the game, you're going to have a visceral and emotional reaction to something that you need to be thinking analytically about. We play daily fantasy, or I play daily fantasy to win, to make money. So I need to make decisions like an actuary. I need to be doing it in order to make the most profitable decision possible. And if I'm making an emotional decision on who I start at tight end, that's not, over the long run, going to be a plus EV way to go about it.
I don't know how to look at football tape in general, but I think generally speaking, you can watch tape, but you have to watch it the right way. You can't be watching it from like a rooting or like a fan's perspective. You need to be watching it analytically and looking for certain things. I mean, I know in baseball you look at things mechanically or whatever. In football, I'm sure there's other things you look at, but you have to be doing it the right way, or else you can have a lot of cognitive biases come into play.
That's an excellent point, Derek. Yeah,
the hip fluidity.
And the problem with watching games on the broadcast is that's not the right way to do it. Like, they market market football in such a way so that the general casual viewer can understand it and see what's happening. But if you're not watching the tape on all 22, you don't have an idea of what the play looks like anyways. And another large problem with watching football that way is you don't know the defensive play call. A lot of the times on offense, you can look at the individual player assignments and what they do and figure out the play call. But on defense, it's really hard to understand what they were attempting to do unless you have knowledge of like that coordinator's scheme. So there already we've talked about 10 variables that can go into any given play, and then us as football amateurs, realistically, if any of us were to be set down in a football personnel department tomorrow and we had to start talking about the game plan for the next week, we would be laughed out of the room because we have no idea compared to the people who have been in football their entire lives, and then we're trying to take literally the wrong view, like the actual wrong way of watching football, and then make decisions that way. I feel like it's really problematic to do that.
I disagree. I don't think that it's. First of all, DFS, part of it is having fun, and if you take away like actually watching the games, it kind of takes away from what makes daily fantasy so incredible. Second of all, I think that so you don't know what defense a team is running out there, but you still that doesn't mean that you can't glean anything from a game. I just disagree from your point that it's bad if you watch the games.
That's me. That's me being like overreacting and tilting for getting called out on a play that didn't work out. Obviously, watching football isn't bad, but I think you need to be really careful about the judgments you make doing it. I've watched more baseball this season than ever before, and I think one of the I think what you're trying to say is you gain latent information from watching the broadcast. Like, you see just how close that end zone target did come to converting. That's something that you can learn from watching the games.
Or you see Demaryius Thomas dropping the ball.
See, that is definitely something that can lead you to make an emotional mistake later on, because Demaryius Thomas has like a 5-year track record.
Yeah, especially anything amazing. You can like track quantitatively. You shouldn't be letting your impressions that are formed from watching a single game or a single like drive or whatever influence your decision making because you saw it happen. Like, you can watch the game and you can have fun, but you shouldn't let anything that you watch impact your analytical mind as much as possible.
And I agree with that. Again, my take was on Davis's original statement, which now he says was overreacting. So at least we have, at least we have some sort of semblance of the old show with Davis admitting that he's overreacting. So Renee, did you count on a 10-minute rant about film versus video?
Right, I'm pretty sure you guys just agreed with what I said first.
Well, yeah.
Anyway,
duh.
That's how I heard it anyway. Let's talk about the games tonight. So, are you guys playing any Monday night only games on FanDuel or on Elite?
I'm going to play a few games on Elite just because I want to have some action while I damage myself by watching the games tonight.
Yeah, I've already done some Elite drafts today, actually.
Yeah, me too. When I was doing them, it seemed to me like the dominant feeling I had was like it was a race to see who wasn't going to get stuck with Eli Manning. And basically, so far I've won that.
Eli Manning is going to go ham tonight. He's going to go absolutely ham. Watch it.
I so hope that's not true. Davis, what's your take tonight? Are you going quarterback early, or don't you care? Are they all the same to you tonight?
No, I think if you don't get Rivers and Palmer tonight, you're gonna have a bad time. I think
you don't like Stafford at all?
No, everyone wants to keep talking about like how much these games are not attractive for fantasy. Well, no, I take that back. San Diego, Arizona is very attractive for fantasy. Detroit, New York Giants is not at all. These are two improved defenses. The Giants have Prince Amukamara for Golden Tate, and they have Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie for Calvin Johnson. And yeah, Calvin Johnson, but like we saw last night when Vontae Davis was on Demaryius Thomas, he had a tougher time. So I think that I would put Stafford third on the list of availability for these quarterbacks tonight.
Interesting. What about you, Dave? Are you doing Are you taking quarterback early, or are you just getting whoever your opponent doesn't take?
Yeah, basically. I mean, I think that like in the elite drafts when there's limited quarterback options, like if there's no clear-cut cheap option for me, I'll just go late round QB. Because then if someone takes 2 quarterbacks early, then you're talking about like you don't have to take your quarterbacks to the last 2 picks.
Exactly. There's only 4 there.
Right. If you plan it right. So they've already, like they can't choose your quarterbacks for you. So you just basically have it to where you picked in the last. It would have worked out great for me in the bracket blastoff had I not have chosen my 2 last quarterbacks, one of them being Sean Hill.
Oh.
So that was the only place that I played Sean Hill. But do want to give a shout out to Dan, to Davis, to late round QB, to everybody for saying fade Sean Hill. I think it was a critical mistake if you played Sean Hill yesterday. And it's one that, and this is no knock on season long people, but it's one that I saw a lot of season long people a pick that I saw them touting because it's almost like value based drafting for fantasy football, like season long drafts. Like they equate that to roster construction when it's not like that at all. You want to get your points out of your quarterback. And I was regretting that a little bit when I took Foles, but taking Sean Hill yesterday was a big mistake, and kudos to Team FI for.
It was a mistake. Let us be clear. This was a mistake before he played terrible and got hurt.
Yeah,
like,
no.
This was a process mistake,
that's what I'm
not
saying.
A results mistake.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that it was probably an unpopular opinion. It seemed like last week to say that he was a mistake. I know a lot of my head-to-head games I played against him rather, and it just seems like he was fairly popular. And another good call, I'll just go ahead and tout your horn, Dr. Miller, is that you were on record suggesting the Peyton to Julius Thomas, like everywhere.
I pretty much played that everywhere too.
And that was the play. I mean, that was the play yesterday. If there is one play that kind of puts you up over, like you could have Jamal Charles, it doesn't matter. If you had Peyton and Julius Thomas, you're winning.
Pretty much.
So, good call by you.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else tonight? I mean, when you're playing a 2-game slate head to head, you're an elite. You're pretty much using all optionable players, one way or the other. But tell me how you feel about the Detroit running backs tonight. Who do you like more?
Joik.
I
think he does better against like physical defenses, which is what the Giants are. They have always had an organizational philosophy of building along the defensive line. Their linebackers are trash, which means like this is probably going to end up being terrible for me. And Reggie Bush gets out in space and scores a 77-yard touchdown because that's how Week 1 is going. But I think Joik is a better in between the tackles runner, and I just like his chances of success better tonight.
Yeah, I've been targeting them both on elite.
Yeah, they're both decent plays.
Yeah. All right. Any other thoughts about tonight's slate? I know there's a few big tournaments going on, DraftKings and FanDuel that I wrote about in the roundup today. Obviously, the plays are somewhat hidden. They are hidden on DraftKings, but you can kind of guess at who people have left. I think the Detroit defense is a popular pick tonight, that if they have a big night, it could shake up some of the standings in those big games.
Nate Freese on FanDuel.
Yeah.
Everybody has him.
Everyone has Nate Freese on FanDuel.
He's going to make or break a lot. I think the big news, though, is the tight end situation in San Diego. And the running back situation.
Tonight.
And
I would like to give my take on that situation.
Oh, well... It wouldn't be a show if you didn't give your take on something.
So I think a lot.
Green. What could Davis say?
Okay, so here's the thing. Like, obviously, there's some bias in my analysis, so please do take this with a grain of salt. But I'm going to try and present this as logically as I can. So, this is not the first time that Antonio Gates has, 1, suffered an injury, or 2, suffered it later in the week before a game starts. And a lot of the times what happens with him is I actually do expect him to play tonight. I would be very surprised if he ended up inactive the first game of the season, even with a late week injury. But I expect he'll be a packages player, like we saw with Rob Gronkowski in his first game back against the Dolphins. They probably have, his standard, option route that they'll call for him in the red zone. They probably have that out of several formations ready to go if that situation presents itself. But I think in between the 20s, and especially as a blocker, I actually don't expect him to play tonight, even if he does end up being active for the game. And all you need from Ladarius Green, especially for that $3,200 salary on DraftKings, is one. That's all. You literally only need one from him. So I think even if Gates is active and plays, and you left yourself the $200 on DraftKings to make that decision, I feel like the upside is significantly higher with Ladarius Green.
Absolutely.
There's nothing better than having Antonio Gates as your tight end and seeing him just like limp out there everywhere, and
that's what he does.
Yeah, just know that he is not getting the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I feel like that's going to be a thing.
Season.
Yeah. So
So
all of the Ladarius Greens.
the guy I'm looking forward to tonight is I grabbed him in my season-long championship, or the TFC, whatever, the RT Sports, my fantasy league, money league they had. Anyways, I forget what it's called now. TFC, maybe? Davis, do you know?
I think it's TFFC.
I think it's only 3 letters. Anyways, Ruben Randall. He got a lot of preseason hype. RotoViz, Evan Silva gave him a lot of hype. Davis, I don't think you're as big of a believer in Randall, but I want to see how he does tonight.
I like the talent. Like, I like him as a player, but Eli outside of Hakeem Nicks has never really made sort of a player in that mold a very good player before. Eli's pretty good on short to intermediate stuff, so that actually works out for what Victor Cruz and going further back Mario Manningham were able to do. But Eli's also just bad. Like, he's significantly regressed as a quarterback with decision making and a lot of stuff. So I don't have him anywhere tonight. I need to see it first.
Yeah, I agree.
He's under 10K on Elite, so like he and Golden Tate, even Ladarius Green are cheap options there. If you're playing, I'm drafting right now, and I just picked him and Golden Tate up. Golden Tate's another guy. I'm interested to see how he performs tonight. So I think he's was a pretty popular play. Not popular. I think popular GPP play. Maybe on some of the sites, because people are expecting Calvin Johnson to get all the attention and for him to just rack up a lot of points. High scoring game according to Vegas. So it's gonna be a fun game. I think tonight's games are going to be fun to watch. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, play a lot of scoring in both.
Yeah. Gindy989 says, Randall making mistakes on routes might help our Lions D get some points.
I could stand for the Lions D to get some points tonight.
How about the Houston Texans defense yesterday?
How about the Vikings defense yesterday?
The Vikings too, yeah.
Yeah. How about both of them?
I mean, I just backed into the Vikings defense because I think Cordarrelle Patterson's that good.
Yeah, he had that long rush.
And people keep saying like, oh well, don't consider him like a solid option going forward because you can't keep expecting this. Well, like when he just keeps doing it, I don't know. It's like his third touchdown run of longer than 40 yards in his career.
Eskimo brother
for life.
Eskimo brother. Yeah. So overall, I thought it was honestly, had the Jamal Charles thing not happened, I'd have yesterday would have been a really good day. I just felt like the Jamal Charles thing kind of cast a dark cloud over a lot of my teams, because if you had Charles in your lineup, you made way for that to happen. So I came off of Demaryius Thomas. Not Demaryius Thomas. No, I still had him in there.
The old Charles, Jimmy Graham, Demaryius Thomas lineups are like 89th out of 89th in my double ups.
Yeah. I came off on DraftKings, did something really silly. I kept my original team, but I was just scrambling those last 10 minutes, and I exported what I thought was going to be a safe play and put Charles in there because he was not in my tournament team, and I took out Julius Thomas, and that was.
Oh, also on David's advice, I had Brandon Cooks in all of my lineups on DraftKings.
Oh.
It like all 8 of them for my cash lineups.
Hold up. You said I'm scrambling right now because I have Brandon Cooks in all of my lineups. I don't think that's like a good thing to do, and I said I would agree with you. It's not my advice to like I said, take out Cooks.
Well, I still had a ton of Cooks,
Right.
so it ended up being okay. But he could have been in all of them. Instead, I had stupid Manny Sanders, who is just as terrible as I said he was. By the way.
Hey,
We're not going to go there. Everyone wants to hear from Derek Carty about baseball a little bit today.
Carty, I had a guy, I played some of the early games, I had a guy start Stroman against me today. Like, that's
like
how...
for the all day when Kershaw and Felix and...
Right. So, like, this is how soft baseball is going to be for the next month.
Yeah, and this is FanDuel you're talking, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. That makes sense then, because I like Stroman tonight, but not as my FanDuel pitcher.
Right. So, okay, you guys talk baseball.
Well, lucky you. That'll make up for your Julius Thomas fade.
Oh, thanks for rubbing it in, Renee.
Anytime. So Derek, what are you doing tonight on FanDuel? Felix or Kershaw?
It's got to be Kershaw. I mean, Kershaw is not that much more expensive than Felix on FanDuel. He's not unreasonably priced. And he's against the Padres, who are basically the worst offense in baseball. So it's not even a question. You play Kershaw, and then you fill your hitters around him.
Yeah. And on 2 pitcher sites, what are you doing?
On 2 pitcher sites like DraftKings, it's a little trickier because Kershaw's almost 15,000. But again, you don't fade him. He's just so much better than Felix is or the next guy after him. So you put Kershaw in, and tonight's actually kind of a perfect night for Kershaw on DraftKings because there's a lot of reasonably priced guys that you can play as your second and still have a decent amount of money left, like 28,000 or 29,000 left for hitting. So I think I'm probably going Kershaw and Stroman. Earlier in the day, a guy like Nice was on my radar as a potential second, but Colorado just stacked the righties with Kadire back and with like Blackman out of the lineup, and so Nice is kind of off it for me now.
Plus, his career ERA against the Rockies is not great.
I mentioned it earlier in chat. His career ERA against the Rockies is like 5.5 or 5.6. So if that doesn't scare you off, I mean, I don't know, like what would. Which
also,
obviously is
his 1 month WOBA splits against righties. Atrocious.
Anytime though you give a pitcher's career numbers against the Rockies, it's just the worst form of analysis ever. Because Coors Field, like half those games at the very least are in Coors Field. So it's just stupid. But yeah, I don't think I'm on Nice anymore. Lyles is a guy I'm considering because he's so cheap. He's 5,200 and the Mets aren't very good. But really, I've locked in right now. I'm pretty much settled on Kershaw and Stroman as my 2.
For fun, I built a DraftKings lineup with Felix and Clayton Kershaw.
I toyed around with it, but I couldn't get past the urge to vomit.
It could induce vomiting. So yeah, I did it for fun. I'm obviously going to have to make some adjustments, but it's hard. I don't know if there's been a night all season where there's been 2 games with teams favored as much as the Dodgers and the Mariners are tonight. It's hard to look the other way.
Yeah, I don't know if we've had many Kershaw-Felix nights in general, like at all this year, like nights where they're both going.
I think have.
And I mean, some people are going to call it a tough decision, but for me, it's really not. It's Kershaw.
What are the odds that Steve fades both guys tonight?
There's probably at least a 10% chance it happens, but I don't think he's going to. I think he's learned his lesson by this point. Kershaw against the Padres is as sure thing as you can get. And even like these are the kind of nights when I almost dislike playing because even though Kershaw is almost 15,000 on DraftKings, you know he's going to be like 90% owned. Like he was against Arizona last week and he was like 75. So even at the same price. So it's tough because you end up competing on fewer roster spots.
Yeah, Dink mentioning the Kershaw no when Felix was an option. Yeah.
Oh, guess who Dink took that night?
Yeah. I think I'm on HBO Real Sports telling him that's a bad idea.
I was sitting next to him while he was watching that game, eating Jack in the Box, just hate eating because Kershaw was in the middle of a no-no.
That was a good trip. That was an interesting trip. That was the first time we got to see Steve. Like, his sweats in real life are just as intense as they are over the internet. Like, it was like a day game, and someone hit a home run, and Steve he jumps up off the bed and just starts pacing up and down, high-fiving everybody. It was like amazing.
I totally want to go out one night with Steve when games are on and when we have lineups in and just experience it in person.
Well, Steve and I played volume when we went to the A's game, and we chose Casimir as our pitcher just because. And so, every time he got a strikeout, yeah, 1.33, it was awesome.
Laffy has
Speaking
a
of
video.
Oakland, you have no love for Sonny Gray, who never gets any love from anyone. So
I'm not as big a Sonny Gray fan as people generally are, and in U.S. Cellular, for his price tag, he's just not an option for me.
and
It's just such a
the
bad
other one
market.
that you could imagine using there.
You know what that is?
What's that, Kitchen?
It's a Sonny Gray baseball. And it says, "To Soccer Dave, never fade me. Love, Sonny Gray."
Should I go get my JSO baseball, even though he probably can't read it right now because he has a horrendous concussion?
Poor Jaso. I can just see Davis crying himself to sleep at
Well,
night.
dude, it really sucks for him because, they had Stephen Vogt, they had Derek Norris, so, he was like, man, I'm playing for my job out here, so he didn't tell them he had a concussion until, he literally couldn't see the ball anymore, which really sucks. I love that dude. I want him to be okay.
Yeah.
Jaso, dude, my heart goes out to you.
Yeah. Jaso's just not a good player.
Stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
I'll defend you there, Davis. Jaso is a good player. Jordy Mercer is a worthless piece of...
No! Oh my god, Derek.
something, but-
Derek, you don't know what you're talking about.
All right. So, any other pitchers to talk about? I don't think so, right?
Not really. It's a pretty straightforward night. I mean, Giovanni Gallardo is kind of a consideration in two pitcher leagues, except that he's too expensive on DraftKings. So, I mean, that's kind of it. You play Kershaw and then you pick a guy who's reasonably priced as your second.
Good. All right. Let's then talk about the stacks that you guys like.
I think the obvious stack, me and Davis are both going to be on it, is the Oakland A's. Hector Noesi is terrible. The A's are getting just a ridiculous park shift going into U.S. Cellular, so they have to be your favorite offense today. And the nice thing about them is they have some pretty cheap bats. It's not like a lot of times where the top stack is like the Brewers, and you can't play them because Braun and Gomez and Lucroy and everyone are so expensive. But most of the A's are reasonable enough where you can fit some of them in there. And then they have guys because their lineup is always so variable. So tonight they have Sam Fold batting second. So he's completely in play and he's reasonable. So,
and Brandon Moss eighth. I mean, to me, this is a pretty ugly Oakland lineup, to be honest.
I don't know. I mean, I guess I can see it, but Oakland just has, I don't know. They have a lot of players that are unheralded and they kind of plug and play them, but when you put them together, they're a pretty, formidable group.
Billy Bean. That's all you need.
Yeah.
Yeah, all he cares about is winning games. He doesn't care about how it feels.
Yeah. Moss excluded, obviously, because Moss has just been awful lately. He's not included in my assessment of this being a good Oakland lineup. Just do not play Moss tonight under any
So I know you wrote about him today in your article and said it was going to be a tough decision, and hopefully you won't.
It's not a tough decision anymore, especially with them batting him eighth. Throughout the day, I'm just it's stupid to play Moss. If I play Moss, I should be punished.
Is he just Pittsburgh Brandon Moss again? Is that what's happening? Is he hurt?
I really don't know, but you can't deny it at this point. It's been almost 2 months of him just being absolutely atrocious. So,
His last home run was a grand slam, I think.
yeah, probably
So,
like
for
July
whatever that's-
4th or
Yeah.
Star break. All right. Who else is on your radar? Do either of you like St. Louis at all?
I like St. Louis. I would also like to mention the numbers say that the Blue Jays should just destroy Jacob Turner tonight. But freaking Theo, man, like he picks these. He's the new Billy Bean. He just fixes these guys.
He wishes
Like-
he was the new Billy Bean.
He wishes he was the new. I don't know. Like what explanation do you have to Jacob Turner being good as a Cub, Derek?
Well, Turner comes with the pedigree. He was a top prospect. He was a top, like, 4th pick overall in the draft. And he has decent stuff. So it's not like Turner's a bad pitcher in the way like Dylan Axelrod or Hector Noesi tonight is. Like, Turner has upside. He has decent stuff. Scouts, a lot of times, they'll see like the velocity on a guy like Turner and they'll project him for tons of strikeouts. And when he doesn't do it, they're upset. But Turner's a sinker baller, so it's not like you should expect him to strike out a batter per inning or anything like that. But I do think Turner is turning into a decent pitcher. Not to say you should play him against the Blue Jays tonight, or that
That's
against
what I
the
got
Blue
out of
Jays
it.
in the Rogers Center, the Blue Jays aren't good plays. But
Blue Jays, Vegas loves Blue Jays tonight. That's
yeah,
why
I mean,
think they're going to be
the
most heavily
environment, the
owned.
contextual factors are all working in favor of the Blue Jays. I'm just saying that Turner in general isn't an awful pitcher.
The team that Laffy was on, in addition to the A's, had a player that Steve just mentioned, 3,300 on FanDuel, Ryan Braun. He was on the Brewers against an old hand.
Yeah, after Oakland, Brewers would be the next team that I would look at because Brad Penny is just awful. Brad Penny should not still be in baseball.
Art
Brad
Van-
Penny is a money-hungry son of a something because he's just collecting his paycheck and that's it.
You know what's funny? Derek?
What's that?
His last name is Penny.
Low-hanging fruit, David.
Yep. You set me up there at the softball.
I'm just gonna stack against Mike Minor. I don't care.
Do not stack against
Davis,
Mike
that's
I'm just
Minor.
gonna stack.
I know you
them
and Ben are
up.
going to do it,
I
but
love that.
trust me, do not do it.
No, you mean me and Steve.
No, Ben. He's on the Miners Broken train right now.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
still, despite like 6 starts in a row where he's been pretty darn good.
Yeah, Ben changes his mind on whether or not Minor is broken. Like,
just like-
depending on the start.
No Brave is ever mediocre. They're like really good or really bad to Ben.
Yeah, absolutely. Julio Teheran is Clayton Kershaw to him though. like Julio Teheran is like a legitimate major league ace to Ben. True story.
All right, let's talk about
All right,
some
yeah.
positions. Any other stacks?
No, we pretty much covered them.
Yeah. All right, let's do catcher quick.
Derek Norris.
Catcher, the thing is tonight, the top overall plays at most positions you're not going to be playing because you're going to need to save some money.
Right.
So, like, even though Jonathan Lucroy is the top catcher tonight, everything else equal, he's not the guy you're going to be playing. Tonight, you're probably going to be playing either Derek Norris or you're going to be playing Brian Pena. Pena's the guy I have penciled into my lineup right now because he's in the second spot in the order for Cincinnati tonight. So against Shelby Miller and Great American batting second, I think Pena is a great value on DraftKings. And even on FanDuel, I think he's min-price, so he's probably an option there. Except on FanDuel, you don't necessarily need to dig as deep as you do on DraftKings.
Well, Norris is 2,300 on FanDuel. I mean,
Yeah, well, okay, that's why then, yeah. So Norris is going to be your guy on FanDuel. I didn't realize he was that cheap. I thought he was like 26 or 27.
Davis, disagree?
Derek Norris is my guy. You don't have to talk to me much to convince me to play Oakland A's.
No. I know that.
On
I know you like to
DraftKings,
pick on
though,
Shelby Miller, too, though.
Oh, I do love to pick on Shelby Miller, but Brian Pena is also terrible. So I might be doing that in some
Yeah,
Pena's
Mesoraco
not
is
terrible.
Nice play, but Mesoraco's too expensive, too.
Pena was on my Royals, so I'm familiar with his work.
For 1,000 less than Norris on DraftKings, I'm all about him.
Yeah, thousands a lot on DraftKings. All right, where do you go next? First base? Middle
We
infield?
usually go towards
Usually
the
go
middle,
middle
I think. First base.
Sure.
Um, First base tonight, I think there's a lot of options. Most of the most expensive plays all have good matchups tonight, but again, you're not looking at them. I think you're probably looking at a guy like Adam Dunn, who's batting cleanup against Noesi back in U.S. Cellular. Steve's calling for a revenge dong for Dunn tonight. A guy like Matt Adams looks really good going into Great American Ballpark against Dylan Axelrod with the platoon, and he's batting cleanup. So those are the two guys that I'm kind of focused on tonight. I mean, you could say Brandon Moss, but you'd sound like an idiot, so don't say Brandon Moss.
I won't. What about, we didn't talk about Navarro either. He's probably reasonable. I haven't looked on FanDuel.
I think Navarro's a solid play, but I think he's a little more expensive than some of these other guys. Where's his price? He's 3,100 on FanDuel.
Okay,
so
yeah.
when Norris is,
Definitely not.
yeah.
The reason I saw Navarro is because I was looking at Lind. Do you like Lind at all at first base?
A little bit. The problem is tonight, I feel like there's a lot of really bad pitchers going, and like I said, I think Turner right now, at worst, he's a below-average pitcher, and he could be better than that. So it's not like I'm necessarily trying to target below-average pitchers when there's so many truly bad pitchers going tonight.
Okay. All right. What about you, Davis? I have Matt Adams in at first base.
Yeah, Fat Matt or Fat Adam. I'll take Adam Dunn. I like him against Noesi tonight.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you could if you really have to, you could punt with Mark Reynolds against Brad Penny. I think he's the minimum on FanDuel and 31 on DraftKings. I don't think it's necessary, but I mean, in a GPP or something, there's always a chance he's going to go yard against a pitcher like that.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I don't like to ever bet on Mark Reynolds.
I love Mark Reynolds, but I come from season long where you can withstand plenty of 0 for 4 nights.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that dude.
Yeah, I miss every time. I never hit on Mark Reynolds. Okay, let's move on to middle infield.
Middle infield.
Easiest place to find value.
A lot of nights it is, but middle infield is just absolutely... I feel like it's so disgusting tonight. I have a really hard time with it. The one guy that's pretty much guaranteed to be in all my lineups is Scooter Janae.
Yeah.
Because he's batting second, he's got the platoon, he's in Miller Park, and he's against
It's just
Penny.
definitely not how you say it.
I know it's not how you say it. We've said this before, but it sounds so much cooler. Someone needs to get me his phone number, and I'm going to call him and be like, look, this is the way you should pronounce your name. It sounds so much better. So Scooter Janae is a great play tonight. But after that, it becomes really tricky at middle infield. Hanley is in a pretty decent spot, and he's reasonably priced, but I'm not convinced he's healthy, so it's I'm wavering whether or not I should play him or not. D. Gordon would be in a really good spot if Yasmani Grandal is behind the plate for San Diego, and I don't think I've seen a lineup there yet.
I don't think so.
We don't have one yet?
No, I don't see one.
No. Okay, yeah. So if Grandal is catching, then Gordon's great. He'll probably be my other guy. But if it's Rene Rivera, then it's trickier because he's so good at throwing out runners. So then it just becomes really, really tricky. You kind of... Honestly, I haven't decided who I'm going to play if that's going to be the case because I just hate everyone tonight.
D is so fast, though. D is so fast. It doesn't
he is,
matter.
So I might just play
matter.
D anyway, just because I don't know what else to do. Robbie Cano, you could think about paying up for against Peacock. But he's been really bad lately. It's back in Safeco, so it's a tough situation all around. I mean, Matt Carpenter, I guess, is an option. He's been cold too, but the matchup is good for him. Mm-hmm. His price is maybe a little higher than you'd want it to be, but
I wish that who am I trying to think of? I completely lost it. Oh, I wish Dustin Ackley was priced like Dustin Ackley's stats suggest he should be, because I would love him tonight against Peacock. But it's not, which is unfortunate.
Wait, are you saying you wish he was priced?
Cheaper.
Are you saying he's too high, right?
Yeah, he's like
Yeah,
3,500 on FanDuel.
Yeah.
He's not even in the lineup.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't think I saw
It's
him
not-
in there.
There you go.
Yep.
He's not even in the lineup.
Yeah, Andy Chavez batting.
So don't
second
pay any
tonight.
amount for him.
So do not pay any amount for Dustin Ackley.
Oh, and Michael Saunders is back. So yeah, that outfield is just going to be a revolving door every day.
Great. Nice. How great is it that we have a Colorado lineup just like way before lock on a day when no one would ever play a Rockies hitter?
Yeah. They
Put
really
it
know how
in
to time
Coors
that.
Field. It comes out an hour after lock. The worst.
It's really awful.
All right, let's do third base quick.
Good, because I don't want to talk about middle infield anymore. I think
Jordan
Donaldson's the
Mercer
guy tonight. I talked about Donaldson in my write-up today. He's kind of dealing with some soreness in his knee. There's no structural damage, but it's hampering his ability to really get like good torque and good leverage, and get like a good base from his lower half. So his power has kind of been lacking. But the matchup is really good. If there's going to be a time for him to show some power, it's going to be in this one. And if not, he's still been hitting and drawing walks and doing enough things where he can be a valuable player in a great matchup, even if he's not necessarily as good of a bet for a home run as he would be when he's healthy. And that's kind of where I think the third base discussion ends. I think Donaldson is just the play everywhere.
Davis?
Yeah. Donaldson or Aramis probably.
I can see Aramis too, yeah.
Seager? No?
Seager I like. He's not in nearly as good of a park as the other two, and he's like way more expensive than you want him to be. Like he's more expensive than Cano at this point. Not that that's saying a whole lot because Cano's been bad, but Seager
just he loves to dong though, and Cano's just all about just pepper spraying singles.
yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of how I'm looking at third base tonight.
All right. Outfield?
Crush against Penny. All of the Chris Davises.
You're though, Davis, your whole
Against
you're so
Kelly.
contradictory. You're so contradictory.
Uh-huh.
Chris Davis is batting sixth tonight. So
Oh,
is this
okay,
another
never
exception
mind.
where lineup position
No, no,
doesn't
no.
matter?
No, he's batting fifth.
Boom.
Boom.
1, 2, 3, 4,
Boom.
5. No, sixth, unless I'm looking at a wrong lineup.
Well, where are you
Gomez,
looking at it?
Janae, LaCroix, Aramis, Braun, and then
Yeah,
Davis.
okay, yeah. Yeah, no. Never mind.
Oh, okay.
Never mind. No crushes. I assumed he'd been batting fifth.
I thought you
for a
were
while.
talking about Baltimore crush against Joe Kelly.
Oh.
I corrected
I would
you.
never
I'm
play.
sorry.
I would never play a low batting average, high ISO guy like Chris Davis.
I played him like 6 times last week, and I made some
can't call
serious
Davis
bucks.
So did I. No, see, that's the thing. So did I, Derek.
Okay. Yeah, tonight outfield, I think your top options where you can fit them in are going to be your Brewers guys. Jose Bautista, obviously, like those kinds of players. I think Gomez is priced well on DraftKings. Braun is priced well on FanDuel. So I think you want to plug both of them in there respectively. And then I think you're probably filling in with some more reasonably priced guys just because of what you're doing with pitching.
Yeah, I
and
think
fitting
let's
in
get right to the values because
Yeah. So on DraftKings, my 2 value guys that I have right now are Sam Fold, batting second, in U.S. Cellular, and Travis Snyder, batting second with the platoon against Shelby, or against Kyle Kendrick, rather, in Citizens Bank.
yeah,
So those are kind of the guys that I'm looking at. And then if you can spend like not even spend, like Alejandro De Aza is another decent value guy that you could consider in there. He's the minimum on FanDuel. His price is dropped on DraftKings under $3K. And he's batting second in Fenway, so I like that. Baby cameo. And then I lost my train of thought. Yeah, those are kind of the value guys that I'm looking at.
anyone else on your radar, Davis?
Nah, man. I'm just not excited about baseball anymore.
I know you're not, and I'm so...
I'm going to use Derek's plays, and I'm just going to accept when Jordy
Yeah.
Mercer's against a lefty, and then I'm going to use Jordy Mercer, and that's all I'm going to do until baseball's over.
I was going to
Okay.
say, someone just asked about shortstop, and I was going to say in the chat we already covered it. It's Jordy Mercer. But,
It's not.
but
So
we
Davis, you would
we
rather
can
have
officially cover shortstop.
yeah, it's Janae on DraftKings unless you're putting him at second because they're both just disgusting positions. I think
Right.
on FanDuel Johnny
Simple.
Peralta's where's Peralta batting tonight?
He's fifth.
Fifth, yeah. So on FanDuel I think Peralta's definitely a guy you should be looking at. Big park boost, good spot in the lineup, awful pitcher, good price.
Yep.
So Davis, would you really rather have Mercer in PNC against a lefty
No.
than in Citizens Bank against Kyle Kendrick?
No.
Okay,
But
so what you're
want
saying is
to.
you're playing Jordy Mercer tonight
No. I'm gonna
against
play.
all reason.
I'm gonna play whoever Batman tells me to play, but I'm not gonna be happy about it.
Just keep in mind with Batman plays tonight, it's probably going to try to give you Hanley. It's probably going to try to give you D. Gordon. So just
I'm
keep in
gonna
mind.
exclude Hanley because he gets defensive replaced in the 7th inning like every night.
Yeah, and I'm not sure he's healthy, so I'm probably excluding Hanley. And then D is going to be contingent a little upon the catcher, which I'm in the process of adding into the system now, but is not currently being considered yet.
Cuckoo.
Awesome. All right.
That's.
Should we guarantee dongs?
Oh yeah, we'll totally guarantee some dongs.
This
Chris
is
Davis.
this is Davis's like show.
Yeah, it's the because this is when I get to talk about how awesome all my terrible players are. So Brewers Crush Davis is hitting one tonight off
Okay.
Penny.
Okay. I think my obvious one is going to be. Obvious has got to be Stanton. You're not going to play him tonight, but in Miller Park against like an average pitcher, Stanton's got to be like the obvious play tonight. Under the radar, someone that I haven't mentioned yet, Marlon Byrd, who's another kind of good value play with the platoon against Jeff Locke in Citizens Bank. I think Byrd is a decent under the radar dong guy.
Word.
Do I get to pick? I never get to pick.
You
get
do.
to
Go
pick.
for it.
All right. I'm going to pick two under the radar ones that I think that we haven't mentioned. Well, one we mentioned Matt Adams. I'll take him for one. And the other one I'll take is Jason Worth. Super
Jason
underrated.
Worth.
Against
Some Mike
Miner.
Miner hate. You and Ben and Steve. I
Yeah.
can see that though.
Because Mike Minor's terrible.
Mike Miner is not terrible.
He's
Mike
okay.
Miner is somewhat above average.
Yeah, whatever, Derek.
I do think Worth has.
Enjoy your stats, Derek. I watch the games, and Mike Miner looks terrible.
Oh boy.
All right. Is that it for
So
us?
is that yeah?
I don't know. I can't excuse you guys. Sucker Dave has to do that.
Well, that'll do it for us here at Fantasy Insiders. The fantasy
Stop
show
talking. I want to hear the music.
sponsored by FantasyElite, the daily fantasy app that you can download in the App Store if you guys want some games. Go in there and do that. It's a great way to get action on Monday night. I'm going to drink my orange juice and listen to techno music now.
No classical.